welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I am Sir Matt, the Bud Knight, joined once again by Lady Teresa. Lady Teresa, what are we cooking today?
We're making cheese and onion pie.
Cheese onion pie. It's in A Storm of Swords at the Purple Wedding, so take that with a grain of salt. And we're doing the classic version of it compared to the modern version of it this time. So we have all of our ingredients here, and we'll get started.
All right, so here's our ingredients. We have 3 to 4 chopped onions. This was 2 giant Walla Wallas, so we're going to call that good. 8 eggs. This is a pie crust that I made this morning, my recipe. I did not use the one in the book because I know this one by heart, and I went for it quickly. Roughly a cup-ish of cheese. We have Havarti and Munster here. These are some herbs from the garden. I won't ask you to parboil these. That's kind of weird. I'll probably parboil these and probably won't use all the sage because that's a lot. Saffron, that's kind of a cool ingredient to have in here. So just be really careful when you measure it. Only use a tiny bit. And then salt and one of the spice mixes from the book, melted butter. And then I left out some egg for an egg wash for the pastry crust. So we're going to get parboiling our onions because they probably ask you to do that to remove some of the tartness of an onion some of the strong flavor. They ask you to do it to remove some of the strong onion flavors, that way it's not super duper oniony.
Yeah, and it's going to end up being like a quiche, basically, is basically what it is.
It's going to be our breakfast tomorrow.
Okay.
So.
And then over here we have our onions. We're just getting the raw water ready, and then we're going to parboil the onions.
Good. Hot.
And then this will only take a couple minutes, and then basically we just kind of dump it all in.
Alright, so we parboiled the onions to take out the harshness, which is the word I should have used before and didn't. So then I strained them, but they're still pretty wet. So I'm going to put them in this tea towel and wrap them up and let them dry out more, because otherwise I think it's just going to be like soggy onion quiche, which I think is gross. So that's fine. And then here's our herbage situation. I'm probably going to use most of that, maybe 2 of those. Sage is a lot. Sage is heavy. And then this is the basil, which I'll use all of because we like basil. But yeah, sage is like a really heavy herb. I'm going to try to mince it super, super fine. And you always bake sage. You never eat it raw, not like basil where you can just snack on it. And then this is eggs and cheese going on when the spices are in there. What else was I going to do? I was going to do something else.
Don't know.
I can't remember. I think we're just going to wring out the onions. Oh, I was going to... So after I wring these out, I think I'm going to put a little bit of flour in it, so that way it helps dry them out a little bit more, so that way they bake better, because otherwise I think it's just going to be wet and mushy and weird.
And gross, yeah.
So we want to make it edible. That's the goal. All right, so here's my pie crust that I made this morning and let it hang out in the fridge for a while. This is my standard pie crust I use for everything. 1 3/4 cup flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2/3 butter flavored Crisco, and 1/3 cup of ice water. So there is a recipe for medieval pastry dough of some kind, and I'm sure that we could do that at some point, just today wasn't the day. So the modern one is more of a pie, so it has both the top and bottom crust. The older one just has a bottom crust. So yeah, so I will say that working with pie crust and getting it perfect in the pan is a work of art that takes some time. And by time I mean years to figure out.
So just go slow.
Go super slow, take your time. I don't cut anything off until I'm for sure I don't need it. So I got kind of a chunk over here. I'm going to try to work it into this part over here, and God, it smells like onions. Are you still crying?
No.
I'm still crying! So when you boil onions in water, it is a little oniony.
Pungent.
For a while. So just heads up, Hope you want your whole situation to smell like onions.
That's okay.
Because
we love onions.
I mean, I love onions, but it's like I don't know. It's been at least 10 minutes since we boiled onion, and I'm still thinking about crying. So got our cute little pie crust. I forked it around the edges for funsies. You know, and I got some like skinny parts and some fat parts. And when you give people pie, they don't really care what your edges look like. They're going to eat it. So things I have learned with making a lot of pies that don't look very cute, it doesn't super matter. All right. Let's hope we remembered everything. There's also like a tablespoon of melted butter goes into here, which is a weird thing to easily forget, I guess. So just make sure you remember that. Oh, it kind of looks pretty. The little red streaks, if you can zoom in, is the saffron. So that's kind of cool. I'm gonna make sure it's super level out here. And then I saved just a splash of the beaten egg, and I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of water in there and then brush the edge of the pie.
And then we cook at 375 for how long?
I don't know.
375 for 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah. All right, came out of the oven, looking sweet. Look at how pretty that is.
Yeah, it looks really good.
See? Gosh, I felt like I could have gotten a little bit browner, but this was getting a little too brown.
Yeah.
So just take it out, who cares? So we're just gonna let it sit for a while, and then we'll slice and dice and let you know how it tastes. All right, here's the moment of truth. Ooh. Just eat the crunchy part first. Heard you guys did a Zoom hangout. Sounded
great.
Super fun.
A lot of people, a lot of fun, a lot of White Claw, to say the least. It looks good. It looks perfect.
All right. Not bad.
It's still piping hot, as you can see.
Yeah, it's still a little bit on fire. I'll give it a whirl, see what happens. Maybe. It's pretty good. Needs salt. How much should we put in? Put in a full teaspoon. So it needs more. But I mean, that's an easy thing to fix out of things to fix. Give it a try. Of course, it's scalding hot. Maybe that's.
Here we go.
Pie crust is good.
It's good. Yeah, it's like sometimes in quiche you're overwhelmingly hit by the egg, but I definitely taste kind of everything else that was put in. I definitely taste the saffron.
I barely taste the saffron.
I definitely tasted it, which is good. I mean, it's good.
I'm glad that we par cooked the onions, because I think I can tell.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there'd be really like a lot of harsh onionness. So I like put the onions in and let them boil, like go back up to a boiling, and then let them sit there for 5 minutes. So I let them boil for 5 minutes, which I feel like was a good idea because there's a lot of onion in there. So yeah. I think that is a good way to go. When I make a quiche, I usually just do like a little bit of green onion so it's not so heavy and so it doesn't need all that, but this one definitely needs that. And it was great. I mean, I would make it again. The modern one has potatoes in it, and that just seemed like really heavy to me. And
it has a crust on the top too. It's more of a pie.
Yeah, it just seemed heavy, and I just like didn't want to eat that this week. So I liked this version better. But it'd be okay if there was potatoes in there, but then I'd want like bacon also.
Right.
Like I'd want a whole.
There is a
meal
bacon, some sort of bacon potato
scenario.
pie that's in the cookbook as well. So,
but this was great. It looks so great.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. And remember that winter is coming.